That's the way I see it.
That's where I see it.
That's the way I see it.
That's the way I see it.
That's the way you see it.
That's the way I see it.
That's the way I see
That's the way
it.
I see it.
That's why I see it.
Welcome to this episode of The Way I See It. I'm your host, Austin Darga, and on today's episode, I'll be talking with Ray Horton and Brady Rossi. Ray is the Executive Director of Brickways, a nonprofit organization providing housing and supports for adults with disabilities. Brady is a current resident of Brickways and team member at GTI. I'm excited for you to hear their stories on how Brickways has made a positive impact on both their lives. Well, hello, gentlemen, and welcome. I'm glad to have you here today.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us here.
Yeah, I'm real excited to dive into Brickways and all of the great hard work that you guys are doing. You guys have got an amazing thing going on, and what will happen is I will ask each of you some individual questions that you can answer on your own, and then we'll go from there.
Sounds great.
Sounds good.
All right, so Ray, you're up first, sir. So for those who may not be familiar with Brickways, could you explain what this organization does and why its mission is so important?
Yeah, so Brickways' mission is to provide something between pure independent living and what you would consider an AFC home. So I think your recent podcast was about AFC homes?
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is like the next step up from that. So we're going from AFC homes to a more independent-based setting where you're still getting some supports but still have the freedom to live independently. Right?
Absolutely. So we provide independent housing. So if you think of like a normal landlord-tenant relationship, but because of Brickways' mission, we provide some supports that help the individual be more independent. We check and make sure that they obviously qualify. We help them with any paperwork that they have because there are a lot of hoops to jump through with getting SSA benefits and helping rent. And the beta bus actually comes right to our door as well, which helps with that independence. And then within Brickways, we have some different tiers. So our first tier is at CLC, our Community Living Center, which is studio apartments, so one person per unit. Then our next stage up is that you have a roommate up at Community Living Apartments, and that's really close to CLC. So someone who wants to be a little bit more independent, learn how to live with a roommate, they could go to CLA where they would still be close by. And then from there, we have scattered buildings around Travers where you can get further away, which is more independence. We have all male homes, which is where Brady's in, and then we have all ladies homes as well.
Yes. Yep.
Wow. So it sounds like this program that Brickways is doing, it's a step-by-step program, which is just really awesome to hear. You're providing folks with the independence, but also not only that, but being there to support them along the way. So when they first get there, it's baby steps, where they might be getting some a lot of support at first, and then once they reach and develop those independent goals, and then they're ready to move up to the next step, which is even more independent living, and you have some amazing people there to help out with those supports and help them reach those goals and those confidence that they so want and desire in their life.
Yeah, and I think the important part is that it's all resident, like they have all the control. We provide the information about the housing, but ultimately the decision is fully up to them from start to finish. And we provide those supports purely because it's our mission. There is obviously some regulation with having, Section 8 housing, homes for elderly and homes for disabled. Mm-hmm. But, we provide a lot on just because it's Brickways' mission. It's not something that's funded, and it's really up to the donors and the community to help support what we do. So it's quite a niche and unique organization. There's really nothing like it, and surprisingly, we're not very well known.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the unfortunate thing in a lot of cases, especially involving the disability community. And I mean, that's why, people like you and people like us at GTI, and the way I see it, our main mission is to publicly spread the word to bring more awareness. That's our main goal, because otherwise, not a lot of people would be aware of these amazing services that these communities have to provide, and all the great things that you're doing. And it's just it's been a pretty sad world with that being a factor for a long time. But luckily, as over the years, things have gotten better, where more people are getting involved, and there's more organizations that are willing to help people in need. And then, of course, with organizations and programs like ours, we have been able to broaden that perspective, and which we'll continue to do more and more on, day by day, week by week, month by month, and hopefully over time that will gradually increase society's awareness more. So we'll just continue to work together, and of course, kudos on everything you're doing. But I want to go back to something you said about people having the freedom to make their own decisions, because that's what we're all about here too. And so it sounds to me like there's a perfect balance of structure and freedom. Like, you have expectations for when you go into Brickways, just like, any business or home that's controlled by somebody. But at the same time, you're not feeling all of this pressure to where, okay, I want to have independence and I want to have responsibilities, but I want to be able to do that on my own level to where, I might be able to start out with some supports, and then if I feel ready, I can move on to the next step. But if I don't feel ready, like if I, if I end up staying this way for 1 year or 10 years, then that's perfectly okay. And you guys are giving these individuals the freedom to be able to do that. Am I hearing that correctly?
Yeah, I think the most obvious example of it is rent. We have a ton of individuals who make their own schedule to get from beta to work. They pay their own rent. They make their own money. Mm-hmm. And, they have some minor assistance from either a guardian, parent, or other relative. But for the most part, they're independent. And to get them there, there's some growing pains sometimes. When we have a new resident, maybe they have a ton of stuff. It's the first time they're moving out of their parents' house. They're not used to having to manage storage space or pay rent on time. These are responsibilities that could be new to them. And in a normal landlord-tenant relationship, right, you don't pay your rent, you're gone.
Right.
But because Brickways' mission is to help people become more independent, we have that ability to give that grace because it's our mission and walk them through it. We have different levels of correction to where it's not an official, lease violation, so to speak, where if you were to not pay your rent at a normal apartment complex, you're in violation of your lease. They care about the money. We care about the people. And so there's a lot of built-in grace, and it's nuanced too. So since we're not as regulated, we can take the individual and see what their needs are and cater that to them. I can go into someone's unit and spend 2 hours helping them reorganize their closet or helping them move cluttered stuff out into their storage space. That's something that the organization itself is not profiting from, but that's not why we exist. So it really allows us to support residents in the way that we see fit. And with the lack of regulation that we have, again, not to say that we don't have any, but we're not inundated with paperwork and processes and red tape. So all that extra time that we would normally be spending doing all of those checks and processes, we're actually out into our residents' lives, helping better them and set them back up when they're having some problems adjusting to their new life.
So just to clarify, so like you still have the same, in a way, you still have the same type of rules and expectations when it comes to them paying rent once they learn how to do that. However, if they're having like a financial struggle, or if their money is controlled by a guardian, then there's no pressure and responsibility on them necessarily to be expected to pay their rent at the end of the month. You guys are there to help support them in any type of situation that they're in, and with any types of support that they need, and then maybe eventually, if they become more independent and they're able to reach more goals and gain more skills, then to where like they're able to handle more of the finances on their own, then we can look at the next step for them to have more of that responsibility, if they so get there. But if not, then you guys are there for them to help them support that, to make sure that those needs are being met, but also to make sure that the residents' needs are being met as well. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, everyone's expectation of growth and independence is different, right? And
right.
So we have that in mind. It's not a cookie cutter mold. We take each resident individually, and we get to know them, and we get to know their strengths and their weaknesses, and we sit down and talk with them and try to create life goals and hold them accountable to them in a reasonable fashion. That's one of the things that we really stress when we start, is that the right fit for Brickways is someone who desires to grow, someone who desires to be independent. We are not just a housing complex. So we do hold people accountable in a way that helps them grow, while providing that same grace. And as they grow, we set new goals for them. What's that next step? Do you need to get a job? Do you need to go back to school? Like, what do you want to do with your life? And how can we be of service to help you get there?
Well, I think that's a really important key point that you just mentioned there, for anyone within the sound of our voice who may be looking into living independently and looking for somewhere they can go for support. If they want to move out of their family's house and get a job on their own. Anybody in the disability community out there, I think it's real important and vital for them to be aware of that. So I appreciate you pointing that out.
Absolutely.
So what inspired you, Ray, personally, to get involved in this work, and what keeps you so passionate about it today?
That is the question for me. I grew up at Brickways. So my mother is the outgoing director, and she's retiring here in a couple of months. Mm-hmm. I started coming to Brickways when I was 5 years old, and my mother was the accountant. And so during the summer when school was out, I would bring my Nintendo GameCube or my Nintendo Wii up and play Super Smash Bros. All day long with the residents. And currently our maintenance office is where I used to play Super Smash Bros. Back when it was our recreational room. And so my history with Brickways goes all the way back to essentially the beginning of my awareness, we'll say, as a human being. And so as I grew up, it was my first job. And then I came back as a maintenance guy. I owned my own business for 3 years, and I did some supplemental work at Brickways to kind of float the income. And then once I decided to give that up and become a maintenance person at Brickways, because the current maintenance guy, or at the time, he was planning to retire. So I shifted over into that role, became the maintenance director, and then shortly after, the entire management staff said that they were retiring, the entire management staff. Yeah. And so I waited a little bit to see what would happen. And I got to a point where I just had to face the fact that I might be the next one to take the torch, even though I was a bit scared to do it, because I'm the one who knows where Brickways has been. I know the mission in my heart, and I know where we want to go. And I didn't want to leave that up to chance, so I decided to throw my name in the hat, and the board was very welcoming of that idea, and I've been job shadowing my mom, learning everything from accounting to the red tape that we do have, learning all the residents by names, their interests. And so Brickways is really has always been my second home.
Wow, so it was both a learning curve for you and a family affair. Like you've basically been developing these job skills since you were 5 years old. Like a take your child to work summer. When you weren't in school, you were going to work with your mom at Brickways, and because of that helped you develop, that helped you learn more about what they do, and it also helped you develop a passion as well. So that's really awesome. And in a lot of cases that happens. When families grow up together and kids, when parents expose their kids to different things, it's like this all of a sudden light bulb that clicks in their head. They're like, I'm sold. And it doesn't matter if you're 3 years old or 10 years old. If you grow up and are raised and taught with a certain thing, then you just develop a certain bond with it, and and that's a great way for you to go through life and learn things step by step. So that's a really amazing story. So I'm real happy that you've been how you've overcome a lot of challenges and have learned a lot from that along the way. And that's one thing that we always encourage everybody to hear about and try to take advantage of. And every time here on The Way I See It. So that's really awesome. That's real exciting. So with that being said, what is the vision that you see for the future of Brickways as they continue building a more inclusive community?
So I recently went to a conference at Misericordia in Chicago, and they have the most magnificent campus I have ever seen. And
I've never even heard of this before, and my brother is a big fan of Chicago, and so but that's the one thing I get to learn. We get to learn about more things every day. So, and you've piqued my curiosity. This big University of Chicago that probably not a lot of people might not know about.
Yes. So when I went there, if in a movie they'll cast this vision of the perfect community, right? Where all the houses are kind of similar but have their own unique characteristics. Kids playing in the front yard. A big community building in the center that kind of connects everyone together. It's that vision. It's that community that we all dream of having, and it's suited specifically for people with special needs, and they have everything from more simple needs all the way to severe needs. And I just got to experience so much there that it really planted a seed in my heart that maybe in my lifetime will never be that big, but I start looking at all the properties that are in between the buildings that we do have, and I imagine that day where you go down the street and every single house is our own special community, and that we provide services not only for needs such as, the basic needs of accountability, not just paying rent, not just getting to work and working, but workout clubs, spending time with residents and getting to know them and helping them to enrich our lives as well, because I definitely don't see this as one way. I mean, Brady's a great example. I love talking to Brady. He's the most dapper, classy dude you will ever meet, and he's one of our standout residents. He's the image of what Brickways is striving for, and we wouldn't be Brickways without him. And so allowing that two-way connection to happen through these different programs, I'd love to create, to be able, whether it's a D&D night or a cookout with cornhole in the backyard, or like I mentioned earlier, a fitness club. If we create all these goals for these residents, how are you going to be more mentally healthy? How are you going to be more physically healthy? How are you going to increase your work ethic or your value to the community and society?
Oh, absolutely.
I feel like we should also then provide programs that help them do that internally instead of just always expecting them to go out and figure it out themselves.
Yeah.
Oh, I totally agree with you there. And so not only is Brickways a place for individuals with disabilities to be a resident at, but you're also providing social activities for them to develop more interactive and interpersonal skills to have more confidence for themselves, for both mentally, physically, and emotionally. So it sounds to me like that's been a big success over the years. I mean, is everybody enjoying all the activities and everything that you guys have to provide there?
Yeah, so we typically, right now, it kind of goes in rotations. You do something for a few years and then interest kind of falls out, and so you kind of switch it up and, refresh it a little bit.
Sure.
Right now it's, disc golf, it's going to a pit spitters game. We have been doing a camping outing, which has probably been the biggest event at our previous maintenance, and his wife, who's the coordinator, or was the coordinator. So that one's kind of up in the air because they both retired. So we don't know if we'll still continue doing that. But you raise an interesting question, which is really, we're kind of in a new era of sorts. So Brickways used to be an AFC home, and we spent a lot of money converting our facilities over into an independent living situation. And so since we've lost a lot of that federal funding along with all the regulation, it's been kind of a double-edged sword. So we have to figure out what our identity is going to be in the future and how we're going to fund that and how we're going to make that happen. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of open area to cast a brand new vision for Brickways. So right now we do, like I mentioned, 3 big events during the summer, and then we have some smaller things like bingo or a cookout, or I'm trying to I'm a big video game guy, and we have a lot of young guys who like to play video games. So Super Smash Bros. Tournament in the future isn't something that's off the table, but it's really open right now, and we're kind of in that process of trying to shore up our infrastructure on the administration side, so that we can focus more on that community engagement side.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Now, do you take suggestions from your folks? Like, hey guys, we're going to be having a social night coming up. Is there anything that anyone wants to do? Should we do a game night or a cooking session or a ball game? Like, do they get to weigh in on and choose the activities as a group on like what they possibly might want to do together?
Absolutely. So I'd say right now it's a little bit more unofficial as we're kind of trying to rediscover our identity. But the baseball game came out of one individual who loves the Detroit Tigers with every fiber of her being. She loves baseball. And so the Pit Spitters game came out of that one resident's desire to go to a baseball game. So we're definitely trying to refine those processes. I've had that idea to send out questionnaires with different options and, like an other category where they could put in their own ideas. But, even with our video game folks, even within that field, ton of different interests. I don't just want to pick a game and say, show up for this specific game. I'd like to know, what games would you be most likely to come down and participate in? Because the last thing I want is isolation for our residents. And I know as a younger male who likes video games that isolation is definitely a threat to individuals of that nature. So to get them out of their rooms playing video games with each other and kind of stirring up that conversation, because you don't have to talk. If you're feeling a little bit uncomfortable, you can be in that group watching the video game, making comments about what you guys are watching together, and then that can turn into a friendship, and then that can enhance that person's life to want to be outside of their room, conversing with other residents, and it only grows from there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And as somebody myself who really enjoys a social life, I think that's an absolutely great way to be able to do that, and also a healthy way too. I mean, because you're providing them opportunities where they don't have to feel any peer pressure or face any other situation. It's just a nice social gathering where everybody can get together and treat each other with fairness or respect. And if you ever need any suggestions in the future, like somebody like myself, really, I'm a pretty big music guy and radio head. So I mean, if you're looking for more suggestions for the future, maybe people might enjoy even like a dance party, kind of like we put on here at GTI at like the Elks Lodger in our big party room. Everybody can get together, maybe choose request a song, and maybe that would give people the opportunity to get exposed to different kinds of music, because like for just as an example, like the generation that like you and I grew up, not very many people or a whole lot of people are familiar with Smokey Robinson or Johnny Rivers, from the 1950s and 60s. But as someone like myself, and maybe some other people too, who grew up with all sorts of different kinds of music, oldies, country, yacht rock. My sister would always listen to the 90s pop and rap. There's just this huge repertoire out there that I think would, might be fun for people to socialize and have fun with. So, if there's anything that we can help you guys out with or do in the future as far as activities, please don't be afraid to reach out to us. Reach out to the staff here at GTI, Micah or myself. So we're willing to stick together as a big happy family, as I always say, and work with each other. So just let us know.
Absolutely. It's something that's been on my mind and my to-do list. Making the connection with Micah has been huge, and doing the leadership classes that we've been doing together and helping us grow our relationship. Networking has never been something early on that I wanted to do. I used to be a people person a long time ago, but I spent a long time isolated and a bit more internal and more afraid of people. And so that has been the area that I've probably grown the most since preparing for this job, is I knew I can't stay in my shell doing this job. It wouldn't serve me well. It wouldn't serve my residents well. How can I fundraise and support them if I'm afraid to talk to people? And so GTI, I think, is going to be critical moving forward, just collaborating with you guys and setting up solid transportation so that we can get as many of our residents from Brickways to your guys' events that you already have established. We have some good events that are established, but we're kind of since we're in that rediscovery phase, if you guys already have something that's working really well, why recreate the wheel,
Oh, absolutely. And getting out of your comfort zone is really huge and important when it comes to learning and growth. You're listening to The Way I See It. We're talking with Ray Horton and Brady Rossi about Brickways. Stay tuned for more exciting things about them after this. Hey, podcast listeners. This is Austin Darga, your host of The Way I See It. 2026 has been a great year so far for the show, as we are now in our third season and have over 200 subscribers. Our goal by the end of the year is to have 1,000. So whether you watch on YouTube or any of the podcast platforms, be sure to click that subscribe button and tell all your friends and neighbors about us. We're back on The Way I See It with Ray Horton and Brady Rossi, and we will now talk to Brady. Brady, it's your time to shine, as the great Judge Millian would say. So,
the guest of honor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, of course.
So, Brady, when did you first move into Brickways?
I moved in when I was very young, actually. I was a little bit nervous at first, I wasn't really used to it at the time, and I was a little bit concerned with the system. And I got really used to Brickways, and it meant a lot to me that they had really good people, supporting me, and that's something that I never really felt in my heart, and that was the one thing I was really good at.
Awesome. And so, with you mentioning that, how were you able to reach this amazing goal of living independently? What were the steps that you had to take to get there?
The steps I had to take were a lot of things. Basically, I was learning how to cook on my own, which basically was one thing I had to learn. And some of the things that I learned over the years, it took a lot of courage for me to do this. I stepped up to it. This is something that I want to do in my lifetime, and I said, you know what? If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. I'm actually going to do it right.
All right, absolutely. Talk about getting out of your comfort zone. The main key in that is to challenge yourself. Sometimes that requires taking some pretty heavy and severe risks, but if you're willing to do that and you have the will and the strength, it's just like almost like being in the military in a way, so to speak. You have to overcome a lot of these obstacles and do a lot of team building skills in order to get to where you need to be. It's not just going to happen overnight. Everybody else is not going to give you the answers. You have to be the one to take the initiative to step it up and really show and prove that that's what you want in your life.
That is true, and that's something I did in my life. And then after I moved out of Brickways, I ended up living on Grant Street. Now that's something that I've seemed to really enjoy with other people now, and that I do now. But it meant a lot to me and my family because this is something that I had to do on my own.
Oh, that's really awesome. I mean, it's definitely important to be independent and reach that goal. But however, you can't always just do it by yourself. And be stuck in the dark. I mean, it's really important to have the support system of other people around you, whether it's your family or whether it's like teachers and staff at school who might help you reach to the next level. And maybe it just takes like one certain person or professional to make this big major impact in your life. Absolutely.
It actually really did, Austin. It really did. I have a lot of good people, I work with at GTI, a lot of people support me. I support them. This is something that I want to, continue to do and make GTI, more supportive for the people who can't do on their own. I can help them out a little bit more and support them what they want to do in their life.
Oh, right. Absolutely.
Right.
So, is there anybody from school or from work or from Brickways or anybody in your family that has that has helped you and made a positive impact in your life that you want to talk about or give a shout out to or anything?
Probably from school. You know, one of my old teachers, actually, Becky Westpole, was one of my good teachers, actually. You know, she meant a lot to me over the years. You know, wow. I meant a lot to her. She did my speech to a graduation, actually.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
And, you know, that was something that meant a lot to me. You know, that was something that meant to her and meant something to everybody. You know, I have a lot of good people here now. You know, I have a good program manager now, and it meant a lot to me because, you know, I stepped up to it, and I was actually really happy for myself.
Well, that's real awesome to hear. And,
Yeah.
you and I actually have a very similar connection. Well, not only with going to school together, but we also had Becky as a teacher together, and she is really someone who has gone above and beyond for us, and who does the same for all of her students. And I just so happened to have her as a guest on my podcast in my first season. So
good. That's awesome.
Awesome.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
absolutely. So
Nice.
I was really glad to have the fortunate opportunity to do that, and with all the amazing things and important things that she's doing for the community as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, something that she's always kept herself busy too. You know, it's something that she's really good at right now. You know, I mean, I love working at GTI now. I have a lot of good friends I support, and you know, that's something that meant a lot to me.
Oh, I'm really, really glad to hear that. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep, we're definitely a happy, healthy family here.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So before we go, I have some questions that I actually want the both of you to chime in on. So going back to social gatherings and just being at Brickways, like when COVID happened these few years ago already, I can't believe it's been 6 years ago, back in 2020. This is 2026. Holy cow. Yeah. Does the time fly? But but like, as far as like overcoming challenges and getting together, like, how has that made an impact on everyone at Brickways then, and you guys personally? Like, what did that look like for everyone there?
It was.
You want to take her first, Brady?
You know, what happened is, when COVID was hit, I stayed in my room for a while now. I couldn't see my family for a while now. That was something that was really occurred to me. But, I hung in there a little bit, and I was brave enough to, other than that, now I got all my COVIDs and my flu shots all throughout the years, and I've been healthy ever since then. I've been able to do things on my own.
Oh, well, that's good. I mean, it was definitely an unfortunate situation that we weren't expecting, but that everybody had to adapt to in one way or another, and it definitely was not easy at all. I mean, especially for the folks who are looking for that social aspect for their mental and emotional health. I mean, it definitely was not easy on them. A lot of people, have unfortunately passed away from it, and it definitely caused a lot of challenges for folks as well.
It really did cause a lot of people. There were some that couldn't handle it, but we felt really bad for themselves, but we just did the best we could.
Yeah, well, I mean, talk about being isolated. I mean, like, how were you, Ray, able to help all of your folks at Brickways overcome these unfortunate and unexpected challenges? Like, how did that work?
Yeah, this actually predates my tenure here. However, I do know the story fairly well because it was probably one of the toughest times for Brickways and also my mother as the director. So COVID was actually the trigger that caused us to have to go through a very tumultuous journey of deregulating and cutting ourselves from the federal funding. And so there was a lot of layoffs because a lot of those positions were federally funded. Mm-hmm. And it caused a lot of higher needs residents to have to figure out a new housing situation. And without that funding, things got very hard, intense, especially for those families. And Brickways provided 6 months of free continued services while they figured out new housing and service options. And so it cost Brickways multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars to do that, all the while having to figure out how to deregulate, which is not easy at all. And if it had not actually been, I wish I knew their names to give them a shout out, but the head of MISHDA and HUD both partnered with my mom to oversee this as a blueprint because they foresaw the possibility that other organizations might need to follow. And so my mom really pioneered and trailblazed the path out of regulation. And as organizations are continuing to feel the pinch from not being funded enough to maintain, it's something that they might have to explore as well. And honestly, if it were not for my mom, Sue, I don't know that Brickways would continue to exist. So she deserves a lot of recognition in all of this.
Well, yeah, I mean, the saying goes, one man can change the world, man or woman, in either aspect can change the world. And, with you guys, everybody was, of course, struggling, as I mentioned, in one way or another, whether it was financially or whether it was emotionally. People were just isolated in general. I mean, you couldn't do anything. Everybody was sort of like a prisoner, both figuratively and literally. I mean, you weren't able to even. I never thought that I would see a time of history in my life where it wouldn't be just like a snow day where schools were closed. Like everything from doctors' offices to grocery stores and restaurants, theaters. I mean, you couldn't really do anything. And if you were going to school, you even had to stay in your home to do that and do it virtually and make sure you had all the technology that you needed to be able to do that. And so, were you guys able to provide any extra support services as far as like social work or counseling for those who might have been having a really difficult time with that and going through that?
I think the main part was providing the continued normal CMH services on Brickways' own account. So all of the services that you would receive as an AFC home continued to be provided for 6 months. So I don't know specifically what all of that entails. I know you had just had the recent guest about an AFC home, but right. You're talking 24-hour service, 3 meals a day, cleaning, shopping, providing the basic access to things like toiletries and cooking utensils, food, all of that. So we continued to do that for 6 months. As far as counseling, I'm not entirely sure what was and wasn't provided. If I had to take a guess, I'd say that that was probably an overfilled plate as it was.
Oh, absolutely. Like community mental health on steroids at that particular point, because
yes.
It was such a difficult situation, to say the least.
Yeah. Keeping people in a situation where they had a place to live was definitely of the utmost concern, because a lot of people were facing homelessness during that.
Oh gosh, yeah, that had to be pretty tough as well. I mean, just all the way around, definitely. So would you guys recommend Brickways to others, like to either work or live? And if so, tell us why. I mean,
yeah. So I'd recommend it to anyone. I mean, Brickways, we often say that we are corporate misfits. When we say we're a family, we actually mean we're a family. And as I've hired my new team, as the outgoing staff have retired, it's been consistently employees have been consistently surprised at the things that we do and that we don't do. You have a lot of freedom when you're working at Brickways. You're free to go and change the lives of the residents that we serve. And my entire goal as a director, one of the interview questions that I've been asking is, if you had an extra 10 free hours a week, paid, of course, as like part of your 40 hours, what program would you head up and lead at Brickways to change these residents' lives? My goal is to get our processes so refined that they can spend a nice chunk of their work week focusing on the residents and not just that day-to-day operation that just keeps the bills paid. And for residents, if you're willing to grow and you're willing to try to be more independent and you're willing to be held accountable on some level, that it's not a free-for-all, it's not a video game crash pad, though we do enjoy video games. If you want to grow, what that means to you is accepted here. Growth comes in all shapes and sizes and lengths. Some people come in and they thrive automatically. They just needed a place to do so. And some people come in with a more, quote, baggage that they need to, sometimes literal, sometimes metaphorical, that we got to sift through.
Right.
And we're the perfect place for people to be who they are. And through the ups and the downs, if there's some moments of tension, we're not gonna, you know what, we're sick of you, get out of here. We'll move on to someone who's already independent. Like, we know what we're getting into. So if you desire to have that help and grace and mercy to grow at your own pace, then Brickways is for you.
That's awesome. Brady, what are your thoughts? What do you have to add to this?
I would say, Brickways is a good place to live in. People seem to enjoy where they're living at now, and I think they can. I think they have good service. They also have really good staff people too. There's sometimes people who can help them out. If you need like assistance or you need something that you need help with, you just you can ask. So you can always ask them for about what you want, and I think that what they want to be just be support of what they want them to do. But
oh yeah, absolutely. So you've been able to make a lot of great connections and just have a lot of supports as far as growing and
right.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's been like that for a while, but I'm getting used to it now, and
that's great. And you have you made a lot of friends since moving there, along with the staff that has supported you as well?
Yeah, pretty much. I made some good friends over the years, and I have a lot of good friends now. And we have a new roommate who's living in our house now, and he's our fourth person, so he's getting used to he's getting used to living in a house he never lived in before. So it's something new to everybody. That's hopefully I can help out a little bit. But.
Absolutely. Well, with an awesome guy like you, I'm pretty sure that you'll do really well in helping him go through that process and adjust to these
absolutely.
New changes. And you got everybody else there like Ray here who. You guys have each other's back. That's the one great thing that I really have enjoyed learning in this conversation is that no matter what happens, you guys will be there, and that's really great. It
really is, and Ray does a really good job. He helps out with a lot of people.
Awesome.
He really does.
And he doesn't have to keep his eye on you constantly, make sure you're not causing any trouble or mischief or anything like
true.
that. Is that right, Ray?
Oh yeah. Brady's top notch. Sometimes I got to get after him for being too loud at night, but other than that, they like to party it up in the evenings.
Oh well, hey, that happens to the best of us, right? Don't we all?
It does.
They have a good time over there at Mark's house.
Yeah, we really do.
Oh, that's really awesome. Well, to the both of you, keep up the great work. I mean, you guys are along with everyone else that has touched your life. You're doing the same for everyone else there as well, and just doing some really impressive work for your community. So keep up that good work. It's really amazing to hear, to learn and hear about everything that's going on there, and the situation, so more people can get a better idea and perspective. And where can they go learn more about Brickways? Do you guys have a Facebook page or anything, or a phone number that you want to shout out?
Yeah. So we do have a Facebook page, Brickways. Our website is brickways.org, which you can learn about the different properties, and we also have forms available there if you want to start the application process, or if you wanted to call into our main office and talk to myself. I'm the acting director, and I can lead you to whoever is the appropriate line, but my number is 231-632-2745.
All right, and along with the podcast episode, Micah and I will make sure that we have a link to all of your contacts so people can get more information if and when they desire. And in the future, who knows? I think you guys will be getting some more new faces into your place as people hear this episode. So thank you once again for everything you guys are doing, and keep it up. And I can't wait to see what the future has to bring for Brickways. So thanks for coming on, and as always, keep it up.
Thank you so much. You guys are doing amazing work here as well.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to The Way I See It. This podcast is brought to you by Grand Traverse Industries, a Northern Michigan nonprofit whose mission is to fiercely advocate, strengthen, and advance the dignity and opportunity of people with disabilities. Our theme is composed by Nick Vane, and our producer is Micah Haven. We hope you'll join us for our next episode, but in the meantime, this is Austin Darga reminding you that life is a journey. No matter where it takes you, always go where your heart leads you.